Captain Elias Ward had seen many strange things in his life, but nothing prepared him for the moment the alien queen's gaze fell on him. The human fleet had been traveling through the dark void of space for months, chasing the edges of the known galaxy. Stars streaked past, engines hummed a constant song, and the cold silence of space pressed against the hull of the ship. Elias had grown used to these long, lonely journeys. He had faced countless dangers, asteroid storms, hostile species, and malfunctioning systems, but this was something different. The alien queen appeared on the fleet's holographic display, her ship enormous and shimmering in colors Elias could not name. It was alive in some way, glowing softly, moving with elegance that defied physics. But it wasn't just her ship that struck him. It was her presence. Even through a screen, her gaze seemed to pierce straight through him, settling on his thoughts, his fears, and his stubborn human pride. He felt naked under it, yet strangely calm, as if she could see his soul but chose to admire it rather than judge it. The fleet's comms crackled, and then her voice came through. Not loud, not commanding, but soft, melodic, and certain. "Human, are you single?" Elias blinked. He froze. Did she just ask him that? Across the vast emptiness of space, through fleets and alien technology, the ruler of an unknown civilization had asked a personal question. His mind scrambled. Protocols, ranks, fleets, history, none of it mattered in that moment. His heart raced, an unfamiliar human warmth spreading across his chest. He cleared his throat and replied almost instinctively, "Yes, I am single." There was a pause. The entire bridge of his ship fell silent. His crew stared at him, some confused, some amused, and a few with wide eyes that said they couldn't believe what just happened. Elias ignored them. The queen's gaze stayed on him, unwavering. There was no fear, no threat, just a strange kind of curiosity that made him feel both small and important at the same time. She tilted her head, her luminous eyes reflecting distant stars. "I wish to see you in person," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I wish to know the human who dares to meet me." Elias's pulse quickened. He had led humans into battles where survival seemed impossible. He had stared death in the face countless times, and yet the thought of meeting her made his chest tight with anticipation. There was something in her gaze, something brave and unafraid, that stirred a human instinct he had almost forgotten. The instinct to protect, to connect, to be seen for who he truly was. He looked at his crew. They were whispering now, some shaking their heads. But Elias raised his hand, steady and commanding. "Prepare the shuttle. I'm going." As the fleet moved in formation toward the neutral meeting point, Elias stared at the holographic image of the queen. In her eyes he saw curiosity, intelligence, and perhaps even admiration. Humanity had survived countless dangers not because they were the strongest species, but because they dared to hope, to risk, and to feel. And now it seemed the queen's gaze had found that spark. Elias took a deep breath, gripping the shuttle controls. Whatever happened next, he knew one thing. Humans had reached for the stars before, and now, a human heart was about to touch one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. He felt fear, excitement, and hope all at once. But most of all, he felt alive. In the vast, dark expanse of space, under the watching eyes of fleets and alien civilizations, a human had been noticed. And somehow, just somehow, that notice would change everything. The neutral space station hovered above a stormy alien planet. Its towers gleamed under the dim light of distant suns, reflecting against clouds of electric blue and violet storms. Human and alien ships lined the docks, each wary of the other. Captain Elias Ward's heart raced as he stepped out of the shuttle. This was the moment he had been waiting for, and yet a strange nervousness clung to him. The alien queen descended from her ship like a living comet. Her scales shimmered with colors that seemed impossible to describe. She moved with grace, her every step commanding attention without a word. The crowd of aliens and humans around them parted instinctively, as if her presence created an invisible pull, demanding respect and awe. Elias swallowed. He had faced enemies who wanted to tear him apart, storms that could crush his ship, and failures that could have ended his career. But nothing made him feel as small, and yet as alive, as standing in front of her now. She studied him with those luminous eyes, tilting her head slightly. "We do not shake hands," she said, her voice melodic, almost like wind chimes. "We touch foreheads to share presence." Elias blinked, unsure. His training didn't cover alien customs like this, but instinct took over. He stepped forward, heart pounding, and leaned in. Their foreheads met. The sensation was strange, electric. For a moment he could almost feel her thoughts brushing against his. Curiosity, intelligence, a hint of loneliness, and something deeper he could not name. "You are not like the others," she whispered softly, so only he could hear. "You are human." Elias felt a warmth spread through his chest. He had always prided himself on being a soldier, a captain, a leader. But here, in this alien city filled with beings who could destroy him without thought, he felt seen. Not as a leader, but as a person. Not as a tool or a threat, but as someone alive. Someone capable of connection. Days passed in the station. The Queen guided him through her world. They walked through floating gardens that glowed under alien moons, libraries where histories stretched longer than human lifetimes, and cities built on oceans that reflected the skies like mirrors. Elias shared Earth's music, its stories, and even small, silly things humans cherished. A cup of hot coffee, a joke shared with friends, a sunset watched in silence. The Queen listened, fascinated. Each story made her eyes shine brighter. She asked questions not out of duty, but out of genuine curiosity. And Elias, for the first time in years, felt the weight of command lift. Here with this alien being, he could just be himself. Yet not everyone welcomed this bond. Whispers ran through the station. Alien advisors muttered concerns, warning the Queen about trusting humans. "They are unpredictable," some said. "They are dangerous." Even among his crew, a few raised eyebrows, unsure if they should trust the intentions of a being powerful enough to destroy worlds. But Elias did not care. He had survived countless dangers by relying on human courage, intuition, and heart, and he saw the same spark in her, a bravery that went beyond weapons or fleets. The Queen had asked a personal question across the void of space, and now here she was, standing beside him, unafraid, curious, and willing to see the truth of humanity with her own eyes. That night, as he stood on the balcony overlooking the alien oceans, Elias realized something profound. Humans had survived countless wars, storms, and cosmic threats not because of power alone, but because they dared to feel, to hope, and to connect. And now, one human heart had touched one of the galaxy's most powerful beings, and it might just change everything. For the first time in his life, Elias felt that human courage and human spirit could reach farther than any fleet, brighter than any star, and touch hearts that had never known it before. And the alien Queen, gazing at him with a mixture of admiration and wonder, seemed to understand that too. The calm of the alien city did not last long. Word of the human presence spread quickly, and not everyone welcomed it. Whispers turned into warnings, and warnings became threats. A rival alien fleet appeared at the edge of the station, massive ships bristling with weapons and shields glowing ominously. They demanded the humans leave immediately or face annihilation. Captain Elias Ward stood on the observation deck, watching the enemy ships move into position. His crew looked tense, their hands hovering over controls. He could have obeyed orders, retreated, and avoided a fight. Many humans would have chosen safety. But Elias remembered why humanity had survived countless threats. Not because they were cautious, but because they dared to stand their ground. He turned to the alien Queen, who watched him from a nearby balcony. Her eyes, calm but intense, seemed to search his very being. "Stay," he said firmly. "We will protect you. Humanity does not back down." For a moment she studied him as if weighing every word. Then slowly she nodded. "Then you are truly brave," she said, her voice carrying across the station. The battle began without warning. Energy beams cut through the void and explosions shook the docks. Human ships, smaller and less advanced than the enemy fleet, danced between the onslaught, dodging and weaving with impossible precision. But it wasn't just skill. Something deeper drove them. Humanity had survived countless dangers not because of weapons but because of courage, ingenuity, and relentless spirit. Elias led from the front, issuing commands with clarity and calm. Every decision carried the weight of life and death, but his heart burned with determination. He felt the alien Queen's presence, her ship moving in near-perfect harmony with his fleet. It was almost as if she trusted him instinctively, letting him guide the dance of battle. Explosions rocked the station, alarms blared, and yet Elias never wavered. He saw crew members risking their lives to save each other, weaving through impossible odds to protect allies. The human spirit, he realized, was more than survival. It was connection, courage, and defiance in the face of fear. Amid the chaos, he caught glimpses of the Queen through her observation window. She watched him with awe and something else, an emotion he could not name. Perhaps it was admiration, or perhaps the same spark of human courage that inspired her people now shone in her eyes. Minutes stretched like hours. Enemy ships fell one by one, not from superior technology but from human ingenuity and sheer will. Finally, the last enemy vessel exploded into the void, leaving silence in its wake. The humans had won, not because they were stronger, not because they had more firepower, but because they refused to give up. Elias sank into his chair, exhausted yet alive. He felt the weight of the battle, but also the satisfaction of knowing they had survived against impossible odds. The Queen approached him then, her steps soft but deliberate. She stood before him, her eyes luminous and wide. "Human, you are extraordinary," she whispered. Elias felt a strange warmth at her words. He had always believed humans were resilient, but now he realized that human courage could inspire even the most powerful beings in the galaxy. And in her gaze he saw not just respect, but a connection that bridged species, a bond born from bravery, heart, and the willingness to face the impossible. That night, the alien city was quiet. The storms above the oceans glowed faintly, reflecting the lights of rebuilt docks. And in the quiet, Elias understood something profound. Humanity's greatest power was not its weapons, its ships, or even its fleets. It was the human spirit, brave, flawed, unyielding, and capable of reaching hearts even across the stars. And somehow, he thought the alien Queen had already seen it, and perhaps, just perhaps, she had begun to feel it too. The battle had ended, and the alien city slowly returned to its rhythm. Lights flickered on in floating towers, and the ocean beneath the city shimmered under the calm of the alien moons. Captain Elias Ward walked on a quiet balcony, his uniform scorched in places, his mind still alive with the chaos of battle. He had led humans through impossible odds and emerged victorious, but his thoughts were no longer on strategy or survival. They were on her. The alien Queen appeared beside him, silent yet commanding. Her luminous eyes reflected the oceans below, filled with an intensity that made Elias's heart beat faster. For the first time since their meeting, words seemed necessary. "Why, did you ask if I was single?" Elias finally said, his voice breaking the silence. The Queen's gaze softened, and she looked at him with something close to wonder. "Because I saw something in you, something different. Most beings I meet are cautious, calculating, or fearful. You are human. You fight, you laugh, you hope. I wanted to know if someone like you might be alone." Elias felt warmth spread through his chest. He had led armies, commanded fleets, and faced death countless times. Yet none of those experiences had touched him the way her words did. She had looked beyond rank, beyond strength, beyond protocol, and had seen him, not as a captain, but as a human being. I've never had anyone look at me like that," he admitted softly. The Queen stepped closer, her presence both commanding and comforting. "Perhaps because humans are the first species to ever truly fascinate me. Not for power, not for survival, but for heart," she said. Elias's eyes searched hers. He saw curiosity, bravery, and an honesty that few humans ever showed. But he also saw something fragile, something rare, loneliness. The Queen, for all her power and wisdom, had known few who dared to connect with her, to see her as a being, not a ruler. And yet here she was, risking her own judgment and position to understand him. "I've fought wars, seen galaxies burn, and faced death," Elias said quietly. "But meeting you, this feels different. You make me feel sane." She reached out, her hand brushing against his. "And you make me feel something I have not felt in millennia," she confessed. The wind from the alien oceans carried a strange scent, electric and fresh, and the city below seemed to hum in response to their connection. For a long moment they stood together, simply feeling each other's presence. Words were not necessary. The bond was already forming. It was fragile, yes, and dangerous, but it was real. Elias realized that humanity had survived countless threats not because they were the strongest, but because they dared to feel, to connect, and to hope. And now, his humanity, the very thing he had once thought simple and ordinary, had reached across the stars and touched a queen of an alien civilization. "I don't know what will happen next," he said softly. "But I don't want this to end." The queen looked at him, her eyes full of stars and possibilities. "Neither do I, human," she said. "Neither do I." And in that quiet, under alien moons and distant suns, two beings from different worlds began to understand something profound. Courage was not only about facing enemies or surviving battles. Courage was also about opening your heart, trusting, and daring to connect, even when the universe itself seemed vast, cold, and impossible to bridge. For Elias Ward, humanity's greatest strength had always been its spirit, and now he realized that spirit had reached farther than he had ever imagined, far enough to touch the heart of a queen. The celebration after the battle was short-lived. Not everyone in the alien council welcomed the bond between humans and the queen. Whispers of distrust had turned into open challenge. A rival faction argued that humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and unworthy of trust. The queen listened but did not answer immediately. Instead, she turned to Captain Elias Ward. "You must prove your spirit, human," she said, her voice calm yet unyielding. "If your heart is as true as your courage, you will survive the council's trials." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. This was more than a test of skill. It was a test of humanity itself. He was to face challenges designed to measure intelligence, courage, and integrity. Fail, and the bond between humans and the queen could be broken. Succeed, and humanity would have earned a place among an advanced civilization. The trials began immediately. The first tested his mind, a maze of logic puzzles and alien codes meant to trap or mislead. Elias worked with careful thought, trusting both instinct and reasoning. Hours passed, yet he solved each puzzle, earning wary nods from the alien observers. The second trial tested his courage. He was placed in a chamber that simulated a collapsing star, with walls heating, floors shaking, and illusions of enemy attacks everywhere. Elias did not panic. He moved with steady focus, saving a fellow trial participant trapped in the chaos. The council murmured in surprise. Humans were supposed to survive, not save others. Yet he acted without hesitation. The final trial was the hardest. A holographic simulation presented him with a choice: betray an ally to gain personal victory, or protect them and risk failure. Elias's heart raced. Every instinct screamed to choose survival. Yet he remembered his people, his crew, and the queen who had placed trust in him. He made his choice without hesitation. He protected the ally, even knowing it could cost him. Silence fell over the chamber. The rival aliens stared, shocked by the humans' decision. They had expected cunning, selfishness, or fear. Instead, they saw integrity, compassion, and bravery. It was something their civilization rarely valued: selfless courage. The queen stepped forward, her luminous eyes shining brighter than ever. "You chose humanity and yourself," she said softly. "You have proven that your spirit is worthy of trust." Telius felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for what humanity had always been capable of. Humans survived and thrived not because of strength or power, but because they dared to act with heart, even when the odds were impossible. As the council acknowledged his success, Elias caught sight of the queen watching him, her expression unreadable yet filled with something he could almost feel: respect, admiration, and perhaps a hint of something more personal. It was in her gaze that he realized how far a human's courage could reach, even across species and galaxies. That night, alone in his quarters, Elias reflected on the trials. They had tested his mind, his courage, and his integrity, but more importantly, they had tested his heart. Humanity had always been judged by strength or technology, yet here, in the eyes of an alien queen, he realized that heart, the ability to care, to act selflessly, to connect, was humanity's most extraordinary weapon. He thought of her question from months ago, asked across the void of space. "Are you single, human?" Back then it had seemed simple, even whimsical. Now he understood its depth. To reach her, to earn trust and perhaps something more, he had to prove not just human skill but human heart. And he had. For the first time, Elias felt a profound truth. Humanity's greatest power was not weapons or fleets. It was courage, integrity, and the heart to reach out and connect. even when every part of the galaxy expected them to fail. And in that moment, he knew that his life, and the future of his people, would never be the same. The trials had ended, and the alien council had acknowledged the human captain's courage and integrity. For Elias Ward, the experience was exhausting but rewarding. He had proven humanity's worth, but the true reward was something more personal: the growing bond between him and the alien queen. They met again on the balcony overlooking the alien oceans. Stars reflected in the waters below, casting shimmering lights on the towers of the city. The queen approached, her presence calm yet powerful, and for the first time there was no formality in her gaze. Her eyes, glowing softly, held a mix of curiosity and something deeper, something Elias was starting to recognize as emotion. "You did well," she said softly, her voice carrying across the gentle winds. "Not just for yourself, but for your people, humans. You are remarkable." Elias smiled, though his heart raced. He had led humans through battles, survived impossible odds, and faced death countless times. But praise from this being felt entirely different. It was more than acknowledgement, it was connection. "I only did what any human would," he said humbly. "We fight for each other for what we care about." She tilted her head, studying him. "Perhaps," she said thoughtfully, "but few beings act with such honesty, courage, and heart. You have shown me something rare, something beautiful." Elias felt a warmth spread through him. Humans had always survived because of courage and ingenuity, yes, but also because of heart. And now across galaxies and species the Queen was seeing that heart, recognizing it, even valuing it. For days they explored the city together. The Queen showed him her culture, gardens that glowed under alien moons, libraries containing histories far older than human memory, and cities floating on oceans that reflected the stars. Elias shared Earth's music, its stories, and the simple joys humans cherished: laughter, companionship, and hope. Every time he shared, she listened with genuine fascination, her eyes sparkling with admiration. One quiet night, standing on a balcony overlooking the glowing oceans, the Queen spoke again. "Elias, human, will you stay with me?" Her question caught him off guard. It was simple, direct, yet carried the weight of galaxies and civilizations. He looked at her, at the luminous eyes that had once simply asked if he was single across space, and now held trust, respect, and something tender. Elias felt a surge of emotion. Humans had always valued connection, hope, and love, even in the darkest moments. And now, one human heart had reached across the stars, touching a queen who had lived for millennia. "Yes," he whispered, his voice steady despite the storm of feelings inside him. "I will stay." The Queen smiled, a soft, radiant smile that made the stars themselves seem dim in comparison. For the first time, Elias felt that their connection was not just an alliance or a political statement. It was a bond built on mutual trust, courage, and understanding. In the days that followed, humans and aliens began to work together more closely. The Queen's people marveled at humanity's bravery and heart, and humans learned from her wisdom and guidance. Elias and the Queen often met in quiet moments, sharing stories, laughter, and dreams. Their bond grew stronger, a symbol of hope that stretched across the stars. Elias realized something profound. Humanity's greatest power was not in weapons, fleets, or technology. It was in courage, in heart, in the willingness to connect and trust even in the face of the unknown. And now that human spirit had touched one of the galaxy's most powerful beings. As he stood beside her that night, looking at the glowing oceans, Elias understood that this was more than survival or victory. It was the beginning of a new era, a human and alien bond forged in courage, heart, and trust. And for the first time he felt certain of one thing: humanity could reach farther than any fleet, survive against any odds, and inspire even the stars themselves. Years passed, and the story of Captain Elias Ward and the Alien Queen became legend across the galaxy. Humans and aliens worked together, exploring distant star systems, discovering wonders that no single species could have faced alone. They built ships that sailed through nebulae, cities that floated on alien oceans, and bridges of understanding between civilizations. And always at the heart of it was a simple truth: courage and heart could reach further than any technology or weapon. Elias often remembered the first time her gaze had fallen on him. A simple question asked across the void of space. Are you single human? Back then it had seemed like a small, almost whimsical moment. But now he understood the depth behind it. It had been a spark, a recognition of humanity, of heart, of courage that refused to hide even in the face of the impossible. The Queen had changed too. Her people had watched her trust a human, and in that trust they had learned something extraordinary. Humans were reckless, yes, and imperfect, but their bravery, their ability to hope, and their relentless spirit inspired even the most ancient and powerful civilizations. Elias had shown that heart was stronger than fear, and that courage could inspire even the stars themselves. In quiet moments, Elias and the Queen would stand together on balconies overlooking oceans that shimmered with alien light. They would talk of worlds they had explored, of stories they had shared, and of the future they were building together. There was laughter, there was warmth, and there was understanding deeper than words could capture. One evening, as twin moons reflected in the waters below, the Queen turned to him. "Human," she said softly, "you have shown me the power of your species, not in fleets, not in weapons, but in heart. You remind me that courage is not only for battle, but for connection, for hope, for love." Elias smiled, taking her hand. "And you've shown me that even the most powerful beings can be moved by what is simple and human. Trust, respect, and courage. We are stronger when we stand together." Their bond had grown beyond admiration or fascination. It had become a symbol of unity, a testament to the best of what humanity could offer. Across galaxies, stories of the human captain who had reached the alien queen's heart inspired both species. Children of alien worlds learned of human courage. Humans remembered that their spirit, their heart, and their bravery could touch lives and civilizations far beyond their home planet. Elias often thought of the countless dangers humanity had survived: wars, disasters, and cosmic storms. They had always faced impossible odds, relying not just on technology or strength, but on their ability to hope, to act bravely, and to care for each other. And now that same spirit had reached farther than he had ever imagined. As he stood beside the Queen, looking at the galaxies stretching endlessly before them, Elias felt a quiet pride, not in victory or power, but in humanity itself. It was a quiet pride that spoke of every human who had dared to stand up, to risk, to hope, and to love. Humanity's greatest weapon, he realized, had always been its heart. The Queen squeezed his hand gently. "You are human," she said with a soft smile. "Brave, flawed, and extraordinary. And because of you, I see the universe differently." Elias looked up at the stars and then back at her. He understood now that it had never been about battles won or enemies defeated. It had always been about connection. It had always been about the human heart reaching across impossible distances, touching another soul, and inspiring change. And in that realization, he knew this was only the beginning. Humanity would continue to reach for the stars, survive the impossible, and show the galaxy that courage, integrity, and heart could change everything. For when her gaze had fallen on him all those years ago, it had not only asked a question, it had begun a legacy of bravery, trust, and the extraordinary power of being human.